My dad was the world's greatest salesman, and he was in the car business. So when I was a kid, you know, he would take these trade-ins and bring them home. Back in those days, you could get a trade-in for $200 or $300. I remember having an Oldsmobile where you had to push the transmission on the column. You had to push the buttons on them. Dad was always coming home with old cars, and back in the day, they rode big cars like that. He had a Ford LTD, and you know, cars nowadays, well, like you guys drove up in, they've shrunk. They're not as comfortable to drive, and I guess I became interested back then, and I've always wanted to have a classic car. I told you about the Bel Air that I had. I let it get away, and since then I've always wanted one. So when I saw this car, I mean, the color attracted me to it, and I thought, oh, I would have bought that if I could have. Well, it turned out I could, you know, and so I did. This car is a 1948 Chrysler Windsor. I've always wanted an old sedan like this, and I saw this. My brother's an auctioneer down in Sheridan, and he ran this through his auction several years ago, and I saw it. Someone bought it, and I didn't even bid on it, but someone bought it at a fairly low price, and I thought, wow, I missed out. And then that person didn't show up to get the car, so they ran it again. This is where I began to bid on the car, and I bought it through the auction. I fixed the electric seat. Now, that's not stock, that's not original equipment, but I had an electric seat put in it. There was a couple of switches and things like that, but very little. Had the oil changed, that kind of stuff. This is what they call a Chevy crate motor. Okay, the reason they put the guy put this in there is because they're easy to work on. Everybody knows, you know, the V8 Chevrolet. This is a 350. It's pretty hot too. It'll go. This car will pick up and go. I've tried that a couple times. You know, just don't tell anybody, but it will go. And so that's a crate motor. It has this is a Chrysler car, but it has a GM clip in it, which means, you know, the chassis and all that. In order to use a GM motor, you got to have a GM frame, GM clip. It has that as well. But this car, it really drives good. We keep it around. I took it to the family reunion. We take it places like that. I start it up occasionally, you know, try to you know, keep it going. The problem with putting a car in the garage or in the barn is if you leave it too long, things begin to break down. I did drive this back and forth to work for a long time, but I began to worry about putting the extra miles on it. The odometer still works, the speedometer still works. This car, I think the odometer says 45,000. So that means when the car was redone at 25,000, there's been an additional 20,000 put on this motor here. And I got to thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't be driving it back and forth to work. I did for a good long while. That's why I bought the old town car. But one of the features of this car that I like real well, they call these suicide doors. You see how they open out this way? I don't know why they call them that. Maybe because the kids jumped out. I don't know. But which reminds me, way back 60-something years ago, I was in an old car. It was a Ford like this, and the doors opened, and I remember seeing the pavement this far away, and that was almost death for me going over that bridge back in Mattoon, Illinois, back probably in the late 50s. So this is real popular. The suicide doors are real popular. You know, a lot of cars, it's just the front door only, but a lot of these sedans, you know, nowadays, like my car, the door opens the same way as this door, but these doors open out like that. They're called suicide doors. Well, what I like about the cars, when I put gas in it, I pull in the gas station, the ladies surround me. I'm like, hey, what about me? You know, they want to talk about the car. Well, what about me? You know, so the ladies love this car. Old men like this car. It just reminds them of the past. But the blue color really attracts the ladies. You know, it's the baby blues, you know, that gets them. They just love this car, and you know, that's the biggest attraction to me. It's probably not the car itself, it's the color. I saw that your guy was trying, at the end of his article, he wanted to sell the, what was it, a 57 Nomad?
Yes.
I wonder if he'd trade. I love that black car. That was awesome. Very nice. This car's not nearly, this is more of an old man's car. His car was a cool car. I would love that. I would consider an offer for the car.